Hi, it's Rochelle again from Regional CoLab. So today I thought we'd have another chat around writing a proposal, a grant proposal and the contents within those grant proposals. So grant applications vary a lot. They can be really, really complicated with really intensive application forms, and it can take many, many hours and even days to pull together an application. And other ones can be really basic applications which have, a couple of headings and ask for bits and bobs around who you are and what you're looking for. And that being said, the more complicated the application, the more requirements at the other end when you're actually acquitting your grant funding. So you should always keep that in mind when you're actually thinking about what grants you might apply for your organisation. So despite the diversity of interests that grant makers have, they really need to be convinced of pretty much three things. Your application really has to prove that there is a significant need that exists within the community, and that it's possible to fix it. And also that the applicant has the capacity to meet the need in a creative and appropriate way, and that you are also going to do this in a really financially responsible manner. So basically every grant application that you apply for, you're going to have to put together a budget, and you're going to have to be able to justify how that money is going to be spent. And there are some quite rigorous guidelines for many grants around how money should be spent. So you just need to make sure that you're really well aware of those before you decide to put an application in. Because like I said, at the other end, it can be really quite onerous when you have to be reporting back to the grant provider, but that's completely normal and should be expected, because essentially they're giving you money to, get your project off the ground and make it happen. So what do submissions need to include? Well, the majority of them will include an executive summary and a covering letter. So the executive summary will outline details around what the project is, what your aims are, and what you hope that your outcomes are going to be, as well as a bit around the impact of your project. There'll also be a description of your organisation, and this is where a bit of storytelling doesn't go astray. Grant makers certainly like to learn more about your organisation. If you can do that in a really effective and impactful kind of storytelling way, that's really more effective than anything else. Grants at the moment still are very much kind of paper-based, or they're sort of web form-based. There's not huge amounts of opportunity to do things like this, like doing videos. But if that becomes a thing, I think that it's a really effective way of actually connecting and making that human face for your organisation. Another part of most applications are around the case for support. So it's really important if you can go out into your community and collect letters of support and, statements or references or whatever that might look like, so that you can show the grant funder that you have full support within the community for what your project is. As I said before, impact is really important. So it's really great if you can provide a strong description around what the impact will be of the proposed project within the community. And when we talk about impact, it's about how many people might be impacted. It's about that return on investment for the money that the grant fund is giving you. So if you can say, with this $30,000 that you're granting, I will be able to access, some training facilities that will provide 20 people with training for return to work information, so that they can be job ready and start going for jobs as soon as they finish this particular project. It's that kind of return on investment that they're looking for, so that they can say, right, if I give you this 30,000, it's likely we could get anywhere between 5 and 10 people back into work. And how does that look on a financial basis for a particular community? The other thing is providing information about the dissemination of activities. So who's doing what and how that's going to be managed. You don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, but you also want enough people so that the project can be managed. You also want to be able to be really strong around explaining what your evaluation strategies are, because at the end of the day, when you're again doing your grant acquittal, they want to see an evaluation of where the funding has gone, what it has been used for, and how effective it's been. We've spoken about before, a budget is really, really, really important, and being able to justify where the money is being spent and what it's being used for. Again, grant guidelines differ vastly with regards to budget. Some will say to you, you can use it for something like the cost of renting a premises, but others will say, no, you can't do that. You should already have that in place. Some will fund you, money that is for support documentation or for the creation of the actual course that you might be running or the project, and others will say no, that should already be in place. So you just have to be really, really cautious when you're looking at the budget and you're looking at the guidelines. Make sure that what you're pulling together is exactly what the grant funder is looking for. And finally, at the end of the day, and this is something that Annie and I talk about a lot, it's about sustainability. They're looking for sustainability of the project. So they're more than happy to give you $30,000 to get a project off the ground. But what they want to see is at the end of that project, you could actually turn that into a broader program that would benefit the community. And they've essentially seed funded you. It's almost like Annie and I have been working in the kind of startup environment recently with another project that we're running ourselves. And essentially, seed funding is what gets you going, but then you need to actually have an ongoing sustainable funding opportunity to ensure that you can keep your project going. So that's what grant funders are looking for. They're looking to say, well, hey, this is a great idea. If we throw some money at it, it's going to get this part happening. How is that going to keep getting moved forward and continue being extrapolated out into the community? And is it transferable? The other thing that's really important is to say, so, if this is a pilot fund and we're going to run this program, for example, if this is successful, what we can do is then translate that into other areas or other regions, and it can, have a much broader effect. And so grant funders are really keen to see how that might work. So, different grant making bodies are going to ask similar questions, but they'll do it in slightly different ways. So whilst it's good to have documentation in the background that you can use, and you can do a bit of the old cutting and pasting, it's really important to ensure that you closely look at the guidelines for every single application that you decide to go for, because they're all going to be a little bit different. So I hope this has been helpful, and talk to you again soon. Bye.